Hello, it's Mr. Rollison. We're going to walk through these circle IXLs. I'm on P4, but the same things we do here are going to work for P5 and P6. So this says what is the center of this circle? And it's going to be 0, 0, but I'll show you why. So the standard form for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where r is the radius, right? And h comma k is the center. And that's all you need to know for a circle. So the center of this circle is, there's no h there and there's no k. So the center of this circle is 0, 0. So I'm going to clear the screen there. And I think most of you probably know that. So now I'm going to skip level. Here we go. Jumping to the next level. All right. So now, again, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. There is no k, but there is an h, right? So the center is going to be, remember there's a negative in the equation, right? So this number is positive. So that's 23 over 4, comma 0 is the center of that. And the radius is going to be the square root of 4 equals 2, right? Because the formula has the square of the radius in it. So that's how that works. Next, oops, clear screen, go back to the mouse. Next level. All right, so on this one, okay, I'm just going to keep writing this formula over and over until you dream about it. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? So we have, that's h equals 1, because there's that negative in the formula, and k equals -1, right? Because there's a plus right there, and there's a negative in the formula. So in order to get a plus right there, this must be y minus -1, right? So h and k are 1 and -1. And the radius, so r squared equals 136. So the radius equals the square root of 136, whatever that is. And it says in simplified in rationalized form. So I don't know, let's see. If you're looking to simplify this, right, you're looking for perfect squares that will be factors of that number. So I'm going to try 4. I'm going to do 136 divided by 4, because 4 is a perfect square. All right, so that's going to equal the square root of 4 times 34, which equals the square root of 4 times the square root of 34, which equals 2 times the square root of 34. Now, 34 is not divisible by 4. It's not divisible by 9. It's not divisible by 16. So that's going to be answer 2 root 34. All right, so we're going to clear that. We're going to jump up to the next screen. And there we go. This is the one I was knowing that we needed to get to. And what we need to do is complete the square on this one. And so step 1, so we notice that we have an x squared and an x term. So, and what we're trying to do, remember, in order to find the diameter and or the center, we need to get this into standard form, right? Which is x minus h squared, say it with me, plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? Okay, So the first thing we want to do is we're going to group those x terms together. So I'm going to put x squared minus 7x, and then plus y squared. Get all the y terms together. Now there's only one y term, so we don't have to worry about that. And then we want to get all the constants over to the other side. So I'm going to add 18 to both sides of this equation right now, so I get this. All right, hopefully you're with me there. Now, what we need to do is this thing called completing the square. And completing the square means what we're trying to do in this instance is get it into this form right here, because we can't have that 7x. I mean, we can, and if you go plot it on Desmos or whatever, it will work fine, but you can't read the center and the radius from the equation in the form that it's in. So you have to get the equation, modify it algebraically so it's in the correct form, and using the right rules, you can do that without changing the value of the equation, which of course you can't do because then you'll go to math jail. So here's what we need to do. So I'm going to start out, I'm going to write this part here, x squared minus 7x. And we're going to worry about the y squared and the negative 18, the equals 18 in a minute. So our goal is to get this into an x plus or minus something squared. Oh, 7x, that's not great. Oh well, that'll work. All right, so the question is, what is going to go in this spot? That's hardly visible, isn't it? What's going to go in this spot right here? That's the question. And the answer is that we have to make it up. We have to figure out, it's not there right now. We're going to put it in. And if you remember, let me just over on this side. Let's say I had let's say I had x minus 3 squared. That's the same thing as x minus 3 times x minus 3, right? So when we FOIL that out, that's going to be x squared minus 3x minus 3x minus 9, right? So that's going to be x squared minus 6x minus 9. And the relationship that we see there is this, that the 9 is 1/2 of this term squared. In other words, 9 is 6 divided by 2 squared. And it's always going to be that way with those squared binomials. That's just because, because of the way these things would go together when you're foiling them, right? That's the way that is. So what we're going to do up here is that same thing. We've got this 7, which is going to come out kind of funky, but that's just the way it goes. So we're going to add and subtract. We have to add and subtract to make it work. So we're going to add. We know that's got to come out to be 7. So we're going to add 7 divided by 2, half of 7 squared, and then we're going to subtract 7 over 2 squared. That way we haven't changed the value of the equation, right? Because if we can add and subtract the thing all we want. So there's plus y squared, and there's the rest of the equation. All right, so now we're just going to use this, before I do that, we're going to simplify this. X squared minus 7x plus 7 over 2 squared is 49 over 4. So plus 49 over 4 minus 49 over 4 plus y squared equals 18. And now we can look at this piece right there. And we know that this squared, 7 over 2 squared equals 49 over 4, so we know we'll get that. We know that 7 over 2 is half of 7, right? So when we fill in this box, we know all we have to do is put in minus 7 over 2, and that will get us this piece right there. So now I'm going to take that plus y squared and put it like that, plus y squared. And then that says negative 49 over 4, so I'm going to add that to both sides, and we'll get 18 plus 49 over 4. And then we just have to figure out what all that is. So we know the center, and it's asking it's asking for the diameter. And remember, they're being tricky. The diameter is 2 times the radius, right? So I guess we should just go ahead and solve this. We need to get common denominators here, right? So 18 times 4 is 72, so that's going to equal 72 over 4 plus 49 over 4. So that is going to equal 72 plus 49 equals 121. So that's going to equal 121 over 4. Now, the square root of 121 is 11, and the square root of 4 is 2. So let's see. So that is r squared. So this is, remember, in our equation, r squared is the thing on the end of this equal sign, right? So that is r squared. So if r squared, I'm out of room. I can just put it right here. So if r squared equals 121 over 4, then r equals the square root. Sorry, I hope you can read that at 121. Where's the eraser? Should I eraser? Huh, okay. Well, anyway, the square root of 121 over 4, which is going to be the same as the square root of 121, that's the square root, over the square root of 4, and that's going to equal 11 over 2. That's the radius, but it's asking for the diameter, and the diameter of a circle is 2 times the radius, 2r, so that's going to equal 2 times 11 over 2, so those 2's cancel out, so the diameter is going to be 11. And I think I will put that in because that was enough work that I feel like getting credit for it. 11. And see, they're tricky. They say write your answer in simple, rationalized form, but you don't need any of that, right? Because it's just bam. Oh, my notes slide with the screen. Well, that's kind of interesting and fun. All right, so then, oops, I got a pen, clear screen, back. Okay, so I'll just do another, I'll do it, but it's too simple. That's x squared plus y squared equals 4, right? We take that negative 4 and move it over there. So the radius of that, this is 4 equals r squared, so the radius is 2. I was looking for another, I was hoping for a harder problem than that. And there we go. What's the center of that circle? It's 0, 0, right? Because that one's going to be 0, 0 because that's just going to be the same thing as x squared plus y squared equals 81. So the radius is going to be 9, and that's just going to be 0, 0 because there's no h and k. right? So that's very silly. I hope I didn't just burn up the easy problems that you would have gotten. These are, I can't believe we're getting these actually in the 90s, but whatever. What is the center? Wow. Okay. Oh, I know why. Because this is just because this is not the other exercise. Okay, so let me see. I think I'm gonna go find another one with completing the square for you because that's what's going to be important. So we're going to go back to pre-calculus, and I'm going to go to P, and we're going to go to um, let's see. How about that one? Equations of circles in standard form. That should give us. Well, we'll do this. We'll start with this one. So the center of this one is what? It's 5, 6, right? 5, 6, which means that h equals 5 and k equals 6. And then the radius is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the r radius is 4. So if our standard form is y, not y, what am I doing? That was the that was the parabola. It's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Then we're going to say this is going to be x minus 5 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals this is the radius right there, so we need r squared equals 16. So that's going to be this, 16. Okay, let's jump a level. The center is at the origin, so the formula x plus h squared plus, oh, that's not x plus h, x minus, I'm starting to worry about the time, I'm getting distracted, plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? So an equation with this, it's at center at the origin, so there's no x or there's no h or k, so it's just going to be x squared plus y squared. And the radius is 1, and 1 squared is 1, so that's the answer to that one. Okay, so now we're looking at an equation in standard form with a circle passing through 2, 3 halves, center at the origin. So this one, we'll just take a little bit of time here to draw it. The center is at the origin, and it passes through the point 2, 3 halves is 1 half. So it's going to be something like that, right? So that's going to be our circle. And what we need is the radius. And where is, because if we're going to write the standard form equation, we need the radius, right? And so the radius is going to be this right there, right? That's r. And so the actual equation is going to need r squared, but we have to find r. And how do we find r? Well, it's pretty straightforward because we know x and we know y, right? So x is 2 and y is 3 halves. And we can use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And in fact, c squared, we usually take the square root of the c to find the r, but we're actually looking for r squared, right? For the standard equation, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So all we have to do is do a squared, 2 squared plus 3 halves squared is going to be r squared, which is actually the quantity we're looking for, and that's kind of cool. And we're going to move on. And we've managed to make it into challenge mode. Okay, good. Now we have another Now we have another completing the square one. So that's what we're going to do. So we're looking at this and we see we have a y term and we have a y squared term and a y term. So I'm going to move all the variable terms to the left and I'm going to move all the non-variable terms to the right. So my new rearranged equation is going to be x squared. I'm going to have a plus y squared minus 20y equals negative 25, right? Because I took this one and moved it over there, and this one and moved it over to that side of the equal sign, and then that one came over right there, right? All right, so now we're gonna have to complete the square for the y part of it, and in the end, you probably have to complete the square for the x part and the y part, but we only the x part, the y part right now. So we got x squared, and then plus, we got y squared minus 20y, and then we're gonna have to go plus something, and minus something, and then equals negative 25. All right, so if you remember, we are going to take this term and cut it in half and then square it. So it's going to be 20 over 2 squared plus 20 over 2 squared minus 20 over 2 squared. So we'll simplify that out a little bit. X squared plus y squared minus 20y plus 20 over 2 is 10. 10 squared is 100, right? So it's going to be plus 100 minus 100 equals negative 25. And now we can take, well, we got our x squared, and there's nothing we have to do with that. And then we're going to go plus, and then we are going to have to take, we're going to take this piece right here. This is what's completing the square. That's why we did this, right? And that is going to be y, oops, I guess blue's fine, whatever. That's going to be y minus 10 squared, right? And then we're going to put equals, and we're going to add 100 to both sides. So we're going to say that's plus 100 and that's minus 25. So that's going to be 75. And that is going to be the equation for that in standard form. And if you had to find the center, you could find that. If you had to find the radius, it would be the square root of 75. I guess I should end by typing in an equation so that you know that I'm not a fraud. X squared plus y minus 10 squared equals 75. And now I'm nervous. Woo! Did you see it say that's right? It said that's right, and then moved right on without, anyway. All right, so that's that. And I think that's probably enough for you. If you have any more trouble completing the square, I will be glad to, you know what, I'll just do one more actually, just in case. All right, so there, let's see, okay. So it doesn't take, once you get it down, it just doesn't take very long. So here we have, again, it's y. In the end, you're gonna get x's and y's, and maybe both of them. So we're gonna have, I'm gonna move this 9 to the other side of the equal sign, and we're gonna have x squared plus y squared minus 8y equals 9, okay? So now we got our x squared plus y squared minus 8y, and then we're gonna be adding something and subtracting something, and that's gonna equal 9. And what we're gonna be adding and subtracting is, because we're completing the square, it's gonna be this number right here divided by 2 squared. So it's going to be negative 8 divided by 2 squared. We're going to add it, and then we're going to subtract it. And now I'm going to go through and rewrite the equation. That's an x squared. X squared plus y squared minus 8y plus negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. So it's going to be plus 16 minus 16 equals 9. And now we're going to have x squared, and we're going to be able to use this bit right here. And that is going to be, see, plus, and that's going to be y minus 4 squared. And you see that 4 right there? That is 8 over 2, negative 8 over 2, isn't it? Oops, where's the undo? I don't know. That's negative 8 over 2, right? Because when we FOIL this out, y minus 4 squared, we get y squared minus 4y minus 4y plus 16, right? So that's going to be negative 8y. And that's why we divide that y by 2 and then square it to get that other number. So now we have 8 squared plus y minus 4 squared. And then the last part, I'm going to move that 16 over, and that's going to be plus 16 plus 9, positive 16 plus 9. That's going to equal 25. Get that middle thing out of the way now. And there's our actual equation. So if it asked you for the center of that, you would be able to find the center because you got your h and your k. H is 0, k is 4. So the center would be 0, 4. The center would be 0, 4. And the radius would be the square root of 25, which would equal 5. So you know everything about this circle you could possibly know. And again, I think I'll just type it in so that you can see that I'm not a fraud. X plus y minus 4, watch me get it wrong, equals 25. You saw it today, fantastic, right? I don't know why there's no like decent sized pause, and it might have something to do with the screen recording software. I don't know. Anyway, that's all we got, and hope that helps, and bye-bye.